Hello students, today in this video we will understand how everything around us is made up of substances which are classified as elements, compounds and mixtures. Welcome to class 8th ICSE chemistry. Let's first understand what an element is. As we all know, it's a very simple definition which clearly states that element is a pure substance made up of one kind of atom only. If we see the example of an element of hydrogen, oxygen and iron, all these three elements are made up of just one kind of atom only. So it's a very simple definition to remember, and because it is made up of one kind of atom, the important point here which you are going to remember is that elements cannot be broken down into simpler substances. Very important. Elements cannot be broken down into simpler substances. Reason being, why we cannot break them? Because it is made up of just one type of atom only. So they cannot be broken down into simpler substances. And here when we are talking about elements, we all know that all the elements have been arranged in a systematic table which we call it as the periodic table, and in that table the elements have been classified as metals, non-metals, metalloids and noble gases. Now about these different elements we'll be seeing their classification and their characteristics in the next video. Coming to the next important term, that is compound. Again, compound is also a pure substance, but here it is made up of two or more different elements chemically combined in a fixed proportion, or we can say in a fixed ratio. If we see the example here of water. Now in water molecule you can see two different elements are there. One element is hydrogen, the other element is oxygen, and the ratio in which they are combining is 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. So 2 atoms have combined with 1 atom of oxygen to form a molecule of water, and the property of water molecule will be different as compared to the property of the elements hydrogen and oxygen. Likewise, if we see the compound iron sulfide is made up of two different elements, iron and sulfur, and the properties of iron and sulfur are different as compared to the property of iron sulfide. Iron sulfide is a new compound that is formed once iron and sulfur have combined chemically. So here important points which you are going to remember based on the definition of compound, that compounds always have a fixed proportion. They have always a fixed composition, or you can say they always combine in a fixed ratio. They always have a fixed proportion, and new properties are formed. Why new properties are formed? Because a new compound is being formed, and they cannot be separated by physical methods. They cannot be separated by physical methods. And here, because we are talking about compounds, we also need to remember that in compounds the elements will always show different properties. Hydrogen as an element, oxygen as an element will have different properties as compared to the water molecule. The water molecule form will have completely different properties as compared to its individual elements hydrogen and oxygen. Next, coming to the term mixture. What are mixtures? It is again made up of two or more substances which can be substances. What substances can be? It can be an element. The substance can be a compound also, and here they are mechanically mixed together in any proportion. So there is no ratio in which they are combining. So example is of air, and the second example we can take is of sand and salt. Now in this particular chapter you need to remember more of examples, because based on examples you might be asked questions in MCQ. So important points here to remember for mixtures will be they have no fixed ratio, they have no fixed ratio, they have no fixed ratio, and the substances keep their properties. Why the substances keep their properties? Because they are just mechanically mixed together, they are not chemically combining. Substances keep their properties, and they can be separated by physical methods, can be separated by physical methods. Now here examples are very important. Why examples are important? Because based on examples, lot of MCQs, fill in the blanks, and true and false questions can be framed. So here when I am talking about mixtures, because in the definition it is saying it is made up of a combination of elements or compounds. We'll see 3 examples. One combination of mixture can be an element-element mixture. Element-element mixture, we see the example of copper and zinc. These are 2 elements which when mechanically mixed together they form an alloy, that is brass. Second mixture combination can be compound mixture. We can take the example of sodium chloride mixed with water, both are compounds, and when sodium chloride is dissolved in water, we get a salt solution. Okay, so this can be the second example where we have a combination of compound. And third combination can be a combination of element and compound. So element, there is an example of gunpowder, sulfur, carbon and potassium nitrate. Potassium nitrate is a compound. These 3 together, when mixed together, they form the composition for gunpowder. So this can be asked in an MCQ question, that gunpowder is an element, a compound or a mixture. So you need to remember that gunpowder, because it is having a combination of 2 elements and a compound, is classified as a mixture. Next, moving to a very important aspect, this is generally asked in the exams, to differentiate between elements, compounds and mixture, which is very important. So based on definitions, quickly we'll jot down the differences between elements, compounds and mixture. We know that elements contain one kind of atom only. They contain one kind of atom only. First point that you need to remember based on definition. They cannot be broken down. They cannot be broken down into simpler substances. Elements cannot be broken down into simpler substances by any physical or chemical means. And elements have their own properties. Elements have their own properties. Next, coming to compounds, what we have seen in terms of definition, they contain 2 or more kinds of atom. 2 or more kinds of atoms are present in a compound. We have seen the example of water molecule. 2 different elements or 2 or more different kinds of atoms are present. Then they can be broken down only by chemical means only. They can be broken down by chemical means only. And lastly, properties of compounds differ from those of the elements. Properties of compounds differ. Properties of compounds differ from their elements. Differ from their elements. And lastly, when we see the points for mixtures, you will remember they have varying proportion. The components, which can be element or compound, they are present in varying proportion, and here they can be separated. Here they can be varying proportion, the elements can be present, and they can be separated by physical means. They can be separated by physical means. Separated by physical means. And when we talk about the properties, the components will retain their properties because they are not chemically combined. They will retain their properties. Okay, so these three differences you can go through. It is very important from the examination point of view. To sum up what we have seen today, that elements are pure substances made up of one type of atom only. Then compounds are chemically combined. They are always chemically combined in a fixed ratio. And mixtures are physically mixed and they are just present together. They are not chemically combined. So in the next video, we will see the different types of mixtures and their separation techniques. Thank you.